State Fullerton has done it. They've gone from
15 and 16, the champions of college baseball. Welcome to the 1544 Miles to Omaha podcast, talking about the past, present, and future of Cal State Fullerton baseball.
And he drives this one high and deep to center field. Elliott carry all the way back, and that one is gone. A three-run shot for Timmy Richards.
Ripped through into left field. Suzuki with a hit. Here comes Hunter Harris with the throw to the plate. It's not in time, and Fullerton is on top.
Hit to center. Fellhauer coming over. The Cal State Fullerton Titans are going to the Super Regionals again.
Here's your host, Dave Lamb.
Welcome into another edition of Twitter Spaces Conversation, talking with All-American Mike Parisi. My name is Dave Lamb, founder and editor-in-chief of CalStateOmaha.com and creator of the 1544 Miles to Omaha podcast. Going to be recapping the UC Irvine series this past weekend and also previewing the UC Davis series that's coming up this weekend as well. So, Mike, initial thoughts. You were out in Arizona coaching one of your teams and was able to catch a little bit on the ESPN Plus feed, I'm assuming?
Yes, ESPN Plus feed, D1 baseball, scores. I was just all over the place paying attention to college baseball and doing my thing out there coaching and watching March Madness and all the above. So it was a great weekend all the way around. And I predicted Fullerton would take 2 out of 3, and I was so excited after Sunday's game that we came out on top and won another series. So I was pretty happy as a fan.
Other than winning the series, obviously that's pretty huge. I know the Titans got a big bump in the RPI. I think they've jumped about roughly 85 points from where they were to where they are right now coming out of that series. UC Irvine took a little bit of an RPI hit, but it wasn't a huge hit like the Titans took, that big bump. But how big of a magnitude is this for the program to open up Big West play with a 2 out of 3 on the road at UC Irvine?
It's a great start. Great start. I know last year, if I remember right, they won 1 out of 3 and they opened up with Santa Barbara. This is totally different because they're a different team, and it's a second go-around for Coach Dietrich and his staff. That was huge. But at the same time, if you're a Titan coach, it's just got to continue taking it one game at a time. I mean, they got a lot of conference series to go, and, so they're going to UC Davis next week, and we like to see a sweep. 2 out of 3, I think, is a given. Anything less than that would be a disappointment, but it's a huge weekend for them. They got to be happy, but they got to turn the page quickly because we got a lot of baseball left.
Yeah, and unfortunately, because the Loyola Marymount game was canceled tonight, that's one of the opportunities and the reasons why we were able to do this tonight so early is because that LMU game got nailed because of the rain. Talking a little bit more about the Irvine series before we even transition to UC Davis, and I definitely want to hit on your thoughts on going from a highly regarded opponent, much like UC Irvine. Preseason, they were picked to finish second in the Big West, and taking 2 of 3 from in their yard is actually absolutely huge. I agree with you 100%. But I also want to hit on this a little bit later is and keep this in the back of your mind, that going from beating a highly regarded opponent and then UC Davis, and I'll get into some of the preview of what they look like on paper, is being able to kind of hopefully not play down to the competition. No offense to anybody that's listening from UC Davis, but let's stick with UC Irvine to continue with. Tyler Stoltz was named the Big West Pitcher of the Week.
Yes.
And, went 7 innings. And let me take a look at some. I'll pull up some of his stats.
786 hits, no runs, 8 Ks, and a walk. That is a lights-out Friday night performance against a school like Irvine.
And I think he had 103 pitches total, I want to say. So hats off to Coach Dietrich for pulling them out right around there. It seems like I know the 100 pitch mark is kind of the magic number for everybody out there. That's kind of the maximum for pitchers, especially for college pitchers. And I know Tyler's a big strong guy, and he's an older guy, so he can probably go. But I think that 100 pitch is about his max, and by him being able to go to the seventh and be able to come out with the win and the shutout and all that. So also on top of that, on top of Tyler's performance, was the ability to preserve the shutout, because you had three guys came in afterwards. I believe it was Ryan Falks. I got it right here. Ryan Falks, Josh Howitt, and Morones. Andrew Morones. They came in and combined for the 2 innings to be able to maintain that shutout. So first shutout of the year too, as well. So I think a double digit run score and a big fat goose egg for Irvine was a nice way to start off the weekend.
Absolutely. The offense keeps rolling. Another 14 hits on Friday. So the offense is getting their hits, that's for sure, and getting their extra bases. I think there's a couple triples in Mata and Connor. And you had that nice, was that a grand slam by Nankill, that home run?
No, Nankill, he got off the home run. Schneid, he's joined the other Titans when it comes to the home run party. So now we've got, I believe it's 5 guys that have hit home runs for the Titans. Obviously, we know Brennan Bobo, Zach Liu, Caden Connor, Cole Ehrman had one up there in Pepperdine, and now Nate Nankill. So that now makes 5 guys that have gone over the fence for the Titans this early in the season.
Well, this JC transfer, Maddox Latta, he's tearing it up. He had a great weekend. He went 4 for 5 on Friday, and I know he had some other good games. We'll talk about Saturday and Sunday later, but he had another couple hits on Saturday, and I don't know what he did on Sunday, but he had a great weekend.
Yeah, he's doing quite well. He was the Big West Field Player of the Week last week, and then we always do on Twitter. We do a poll for the Pitcher of the Week and the Batter of the Week, and he won the Batter of the Week last week. He won the Batter of the Week for our Twitter poll, running away, which is obviously, if you're going to be the Big West Field Player of the Week for the entire conference, you're probably definitely going to win it for your team. And he was also the Batter of the Week again. So back to back for Maddox Latta on being the Batter of the Week. Let me pull up his stats on what he did for the whole weekend. But for the entire weekend, he had an incredible weekend. I think he dropped off a little bit on Saturday.
He dropped off on Sunday. I think he was 6 for 10 going into Sunday. I don't think he did much on Sunday.
Yeah, so he was 6 for 13 for the weekend, 460 batting average for the weekend, 5 runs scored, 3 RBIs, 2 walks, and unfortunately 2 strikeouts. But that's going to get it done. But
yeah, absolutely.
The other 3 candidates that we had as nominees, Caden Connor was 5 for 11 for a 450 average, 6 runs scored, 5 RBIs, 3 walks, no strikeouts for Caden Connor. That's huge. Yes. Colby Wallace had a nice weekend, 4 for 7 at a 570 clip, 2 runs scored, 3 RBIs, no walks, and 1 strikeout. And then Carter White continues to be red hot. He's 5 for 14. 360 average for the weekend, 4 runs scored, 1 RBI, 1 walk, and unfortunately, and we saw it on Sunday, he actually struck out twice on Sunday. That was the first time he had struck out all season.
Wow.
So
that's a nice stretch.
Yeah, not too bad. And the crazy thing is that he's still, I believe, is in the top 10. I'm going to pull up those stats right now. Carter White's in the top 10 for most difficult or toughest to strike out. This actually can move into our preview for UC Davis. Actually, the guy that's leading the nation as toughest to strike out is Alex, and I believe you pronounce his name Govea. It's Gouveia. So Alex Govea of UC Davis is actually leading the nation in 16 games and 65 at-bats. He's only got 2 strikeouts for an average of 32 and a half at-bats per strikeout. And then Cameron Gurney, who was at the University of Utah, he had 0 strikeouts going into the weekend as well, much like Carter White did. So he didn't even register on here. But Carter White registers at number 7. So he's got 14 games, 43 at-bats, and 2 strikeouts. So after the 2 strikeouts on Sunday against Irvine, he's now averaging 21 and a half at-bats per strikeout. So not too bad.
Not too shabby. Not at all. Not at all. Cole Irvine, I saw, went 3 for 4 with 2 doubles on Friday night. So they had 3 multiple hit guys with 4, 3, and 3. A lot of Connor and Irvine. So that's pretty impressive. And obviously, you had great pitching, and you made no errors. So you're going to win games like that.
Well, and I was going to mention that in the fact that the entire team committed 0 errors for the weekend.
I saw that.
And
you don't see that very often.
And I don't know if you can chalk that up to the hometown scorer who was registering more hits on things that could have been an error. But I did see one on Sunday, because I was able to be at the game on Sunday, that it looked like it was an error, but they actually ended up ruling it a hit. But, hey, you're at the mercy of what the hometown scorer is going to give you. But when it comes to that, you never know. But talking about some of the other guys offensively, Nate Nankill get the home run, but then also he went 3 for 5 on Saturday, and then 1 for 5 on Sunday. So he batted .333 for the weekend, and then also other guys. Irvine was at a let's see where Irvine was. Irvine batted .270 for the weekend. He was 3 for 11. So unfortunately, He went 0 for on Saturday and Sunday, but he did have that 3 for 4 day on Friday, which was quite nice. Moises Guzman, he didn't play all that much. He didn't get a whole lot of at-bats, but he did go 1 for 2 in his opportunities. And so that's a 500, for that. We already touched on Maddox Lotta. And then one of the other things that I'm going to hit on in the column on Thursday is a couple of the freshmen got a little bit extra extended playing time.
Eli Lowe
got his first. Well, he got his first start. And I think he got his first base hit. I know Draven Nushida, who got in on Friday, got a base hit as well. And then let's take a look at what Eli Lopez. Yeah, Eli Lopez, he got his first hit on Saturday. He went 1 for 4.
And he started at third base the whole game. They DH Lou. Unfortunately, that was great for Eli. Happy for him. And I think Lou had a rough weekend.
Yeah, Zach, unfortunately, he did not do all that well. He was 0 for 4 on Friday as the DH. He was 1 for 4 on Saturday, and he went 0 for on Sunday. So he was 1 for 11 for a 0.90 average. He did get two ribs and a walk and struck out once, but not that great. But we kind of mentioned this last week. It kind of seems like different guys are stepping up. It's not just okay. We've got and not to bring it back to the era that you played in. It's not like we've got okay. We know Kotze is going to produce every single weekend. We know Nevin is going to produce every single game, every single weekend. That's the reason why they were Golden Spikes Award winners. But it seems like this team is putting together wins because different guys in the lineup are stepping up. So it's 1 through 9, you could expect somebody to have a big weekend and kind of put the team on their back.
I mean, I think when the coaches sat down Monday morning and they evaluated the weekend. And we all know Zach Lou's one of the best players in the program, that you're fine with it. We won 2 out of 3, and it was without one of our best players in the program. So I'm happy with that because we know he's going to step up plenty of times.
So let's talk a little bit more about the mound. We talked about Tyler Stoltz having his fantastic night on Friday, and then on Sunday, we'll talk a little bit about Saturday. I know we can't just kind of gloss over Saturday.
Let's get to Sunday. And for pitching, and then we'll come back to Saturday, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. So Sunday, I think the formula of the Yates Peyton Jones combo is really working. I know it's a very small sample size, in the fact that it was game 2 of the doubleheader up there in Pepperdine, where Yates gets the start, and then Peyton Jones comes in extended relief. It seemed like that was the same formula this past Sunday against Irvine, in the fact that Yates gets the start, Peyton Jones comes in extended relief. He didn't go all the way because it wasn't a 7-inning game, because that's, it wasn't the part of the doubleheader like they were up in Pepperdine. Jones gets relieved, and then JoJo Ingracia comes in for about 1 1/3 inning and ends up, shutting down the game. And it seems like that might be the formula. Now, I don't know what's going to happen on Saturday if that dynamic duo of Yates and Jones going 1 and 2 is going to get broken up, or if it's going to be like, hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. We'll just kind of keep that thing going. What's your take on that?
Well, first of all, on Sunday, Yates didn't pitch great, but he didn't pitch bad either. His job was to keep the team in the game, to try to win the series. That's what he did. Peyton Jones was lights out. 5 1/3 innings, 1 run. He did a great job. And then JoJo came in and, it looked like he struggled a little bit, but he got the job done. And you stay with that formula and keep it going. I think all starters stay the same. I know you want to get into Saturday with Hinkle. He's having a rough go, and we all know that. But I think you still got to put some belief in him and maybe, hey, let's go try to dominate UC Davis. And not to put pressure on the kid, but maybe I'm thinking, hey, if he can't get it done against Davis, it's time to make a switch. Or maybe Davis has a great outing and they can get on a little run. So that's sort of how I'm looking at with Hinkle right now.
Well, from my standpoint, I mean, and looking at and doing some research in preparation for the column that I'm going to publish on Thursday, is the best starting pitcher that Davis has is a guy. He's a left-hander by the name of Brian Green. He's 4-1, and he's got a 3.54 ERA. And even though 3.54 is not, it's not lights out, it's not below 3 or even sub 2. That's their best guy. And the fact that they keep on bringing out Nate Freeman, who's 0-4 with a 6.41 ERA on Fridays, I don't know why Green hasn't gotten the promotion to the Friday, and then they've kind of shuffled people around. But I'm looking at it from the standpoint of is if we're running out our weekend starter that has not done very well, to put it mildly, on Saturday, and Davis is trotting out their best arm on Saturday, not that our offense can't overcome that, but it kind of makes me nervous that if we're going to give Hinkle that one last chance to be able to make things right and prove that he's a weekend guy, I don't like the fact that it's going up against their best guy, that if our offense falters, that, it's one of those things where it would be great. It would be great if we come out as the visitor, top of the first, and we hammer this kid for 4 or 5 runs, kind of like what we did on Friday night against Irvine. As a pitcher, you started Fridays for 2 years. If you're able to go on the road and you've already got a 4-run lead before you even pick up the ball and throw a strike, that's got to be huge.
Yeah, at the same time, is he needs to get through 5 innings and having a pretty solid outing. If he has a run or a lead or all that stuff, that's great. But he needs a good outing. He can't focus on what our offense is doing, and he needs to eliminate those hits and walks and pitch to contact. And this is a big outing for him. And obviously, I think we all as Titan fans want to see him do well and want to see him get his first win at Fullerton. And I think this is the weekend it's going to happen. But I know he's feeling the pressure. Dietz is so good with pitchers. I'm sure he's going to have them in the right frame of mind and not make it feel like a do-or-die start. But me looking in at it, this could be a do-or-die start for him.
Yeah, I know these players and these coaches, they're probably not supposed to be checking social media or reading message boards or any of that kind of stuff. But, it's kind of hard not to do that. Thankfully, when you were playing, there wasn't the internet and there wasn't message boards or social media or any of that kind of stuff for those distractions. Now there were newspapers and there were other things out there for you to kind of read about, but it wasn't as prevalent as it is right now.
And I was that guy where I like to see how everybody across the country was doing in rankings and, follow everything. I wish I would have avoided all the articles and all the other stuff, and enjoy it at the end of the year, but it's easier said than done. If I'm struggling, I don't want to pick up. I don't want to listen to anything. I just want to block everything out because that's only going to get me down or put more pressure on me.
Well, I mean, I think everybody in Titan Nation wants him to do well. I think they want him to go out there and get that win. They want him to have those shutdown innings and be able to come out of there with some confidence. I mean, unfortunately, he was throwing really, really well against Pepperdine. And not to put this on Coach Dietrich, but unfortunately, when he started to falter a little bit up there in Pepperdine, I think I think he was left in a little bit longer.
Right.
I think it was kind of one of those things like, okay, well, let's see how he kind of handles it and all that kind of stuff. And then, unfortunately, he let up quite a few runs before he eventually got pulled. So, but at the same time, I will say that this is the first conference series that we saw. And I think Coach Dietrich was using these non-conference series, Stanford, Michigan, Pepperdine, Texas, to kind of get a feel for, okay, how long can this arm go before it's time? And I think it was telling. I was able to see it quite easily because I was there in the stadium and I was able to focus on it. I wasn't at the mercy of what a camera angle was showing at that particular time that moment happened. But when Peyton Jones was out there and he got a fly out and a ground out, or a ground out and a fly out, I don't remember. It really doesn't matter which one happened first, but he got two outs, and then he walked a guy. And Dietz calls time, and as he's walking out there, before he even crosses the first base foul line, Peyton just kind of tossed the ball up in the air and like caught it with his pitching arm, like just in the frustration, like, damn it.
Right.
Man, if I had just not walked that guy, I could have completed this inning. And I know that I'm not going to be able to talk Jason out of leaving me in. Because JoJo's already warm. I can see down in the first base bullpen at Irvine. I can see that he's already been up and he's already been throwing and he's already warm. So there's no like, hey, leave me in. JoJo's not ready yet. It wasn't going to do that. But you could just tell the frustration on Peyton saying, man, if I could just not have walked that guy, I wouldn't have to get pulled in the middle of the inning, and then we could bring JoJo in a fresh new one and all that kind of stuff.
I mean, you don't see relief pitchers going 5+ innings anyways. I mean, he definitely, hey, let's take one batter at a time after maybe the third inning and see how he's doing and see how much we could get out of him. And they had to be super excited of what they got out of Peyton Jones on Sunday. So I know kid probably wanted to stay in. All pitchers like to stay in, but he had to be really proud of his outing, and they did a perfect job handling his situation. I didn't really see the box scores. Tell me when they scored those 7 earned runs off Hinkle. I know he went 4 2/3, but for him to give up 7 runs, did he give up a majority of those runs later on, like in the 4th or 5th? How did that work?
Yeah, those came in the 5th. So I'm gonna go to that box score right now and go to the play-by-play. But those came in the 5th. But unfortunately, a lot of those runs came on self-inflicted wounds. It wasn't like, okay, the guy just put a barrel on a ball and he got the best of me. It was walks and hit batters from both Hinkle and Jason Blood. And, we've been singing Jason Blood's praises for weeks now. And he unfortunately was, he had 1 inning, 3 hits, 2 earned runs, 2 walks, no strikeouts. But on the play-by-play in that 5th, so you've got a single up the middle to start, another single. It was a bunt single, and the kid is really, really fast. This kid, Joe Oyama from Japan, he's a JC kid out of Merced. He had a bunt single, and he just beat it out. He's just quicker than grease. And then the next batter up, so you got man on first and second, hit by pitch to load the bases. So then you have a line out to center field, sacrifice fly. And then you have, but then everybody tagged, and then they advanced in. And then you've got Tony Martinez, that freshman first baseman, who is just absolutely hit the cover off the ball for UC Irvine. He flied out to left for another sacrifice fly. So you've got a walk, and then a guy advances to second. You have another walk to load the bases. Then you have another walk RBI, bases loaded walk. And so now with the bases loaded, Trevor gets pulled for Jason Blood. So all three of those dudes that were still on base after him walking in that run are all attributed to Hinkle. So the next batter, Jason Blood, comes in, hit by pitch. RBI brings in another dude. Bases are still loaded. Jacob Stinson walks, another RBI. Bases still loaded. Joe Oyama, we talked about him already. That's the kid from Japan.
Flies.
He comes back around. So Jacob Stinson started off the inning with the single. So now they've batted around with Jacob Stinson walking. The bases loaded. Joe Oyama comes around for a second time. He walks. Bases still loaded. And then we finally get out of the inning. Will Bermudez, he flies out to left field.
Well, Tom Zach came in as well during that fifth inning, looks like. Is that what I see? Or no?
No, he did not.
He came in the next inning, I think.
So in the next inning, in the next inning, let's see. We had a ground out and a single, and then a triple, and then another single. And then Seth Tomczak comes in and replaces Jason Blood. So you've got 2 outs, and then you've got a single, a triple that scores the Dub Gleed, who was the guy that singled. And then you've got Chase Call, who's standing on third with that triple. And then Miles Smith singles up the middle to bring in Chase Call, and that's when Seth Tomczak comes in for Jason Blood. So then Tomczak walks the next batter. Jacob Stinson walks, and then Joe Oyama pops out. So the 2 walks that Tomczak gave up didn't result in any kind of anything else. But it was just that 5th and that 6th inning was just absolutely disastrous.
That was rough.
And then unfortunately, Finn Chester didn't do all that great either.
No, he had 2 innings and 3 hits, and he gave a run as well, I see.
Yeah, and then so in that bottom of the 7th, not to sit here and start reading box scores to people, but in that bottom of the 7th, Tomczak was still in. So he gets a leadoff single off of Tomczak. Caden Kendall singles down the line. So then you've got man on first and second, and then Chester comes in. And then the first guy that Chester faces, Tony Martinez, that freshman sensation first baseman, he doubles down the line and gets 2 RBIs out of it. And then you get a fly out for an out. Chase Call singles again. And then you've got another single to center field with an RBI, and then a ground out to end the game, or end the inning. So it was just kind of like 5, 6, and 7 turned out to be, really, really detrimental, to the point where you've got, so the Titans were leading 1-0 after 2, it's tied up after 3, and then that 5th inning just resulted in 6 runs getting put up. So you've got a 7-1 lead. After the 6th, you've got a 9-1 lead. Right. Then it's 9-5 after the in the middle of the 7th. And then, unfortunately, that 7th inning, when it was Tomczak and Chester shared that inning, 3 more runs came in, and that was it. That was 12-5, because no other runs were scored in the 8th and the 9th for both teams. So, unfortunately, that was just kind of one of those deals. But what's your take on this? And I know you said that this is the weekend. It's you don't want it to seem like it's make or break for Trevor Hinkle, but it maybe kind of might be, who knows. What's your take on a lot of people on the message boards? And obviously, the fan is short for fanatic, so you got to take it with a grain of salt. But there's a number of people out there that are saying, hey, Peyton Jones is going that 5 or 6 innings. Why don't we turn him into a starter? Why don't we move Yates up to Saturday, and then maybe even you move Jones to Sunday, or maybe have Jones start Saturday, or even if we don't want to break out that dynamic duo that we referred to with Yates and Jones kind of being handcuffed together, which seems the past 2 weekends, it's, the proof is in the pudding. It seemed to work out. Why not take Chester, who was a Sunday starter last year, who has proven that he can go deep because he did have that complete game against Long Beach last year at the end of the season. Why not take Chester and move him to Sundays, and then have Hinkle be, Hinkle and Blood be the first guys out of the bullpen? I mean, what's your thought on that?
I guarantee you all these scenarios that you've talked about have been discussed in those coaching meetings. And obviously Dietrich's going to make the final call, especially when it comes to the pitchers. Maybe, I know they see something in Hinkle. That's why they were super excited to get him from Pepperdine. I think the kid just needs to relax a little bit and gain confidence. I'm not giving them up on him yet, but they do have a lot of options. If they were 0-3 an Irvine weekend, they might be making some changes, but they're feeling pretty good about themselves going to Davis. Let's see how they feel after the series. I know none of the coaches will talk about a sweep, and I know even in 92, as good as we were in 92, we had such a hard time. And if you did the research, I think we only swept Pacific. I think we won every series except for the Long Beach series, but we always lost on Sundays. So it's not easy to sweep no matter how good you are or how poor the other team is. But, I mean, I know that would be a nice goal, but they got to take care of business Friday, and I think Stoltz will take care of business Friday. And, you need to take care of business on Saturday. So that's going to be a big, big game for him. We'll see. I don't like giving up on that guy. I believe in him, but he's going to have to get it done.
Well, speaking of getting it done, I just took a look over here to kind of give everybody an opportunity to know. For those that are going to be listening to this on the replay, Otani is in for the World Baseball Classic for Japan, and just walked McNeil.
3-2, ninth inning. Oh, this is great.
Yeah, sorry for any spoiler alerts for anybody that. And then Bobby Witt Jr. coming in as a pinch runner.
Mookie Betts up and Mike Trout on deck. So yeah, I'd love to see the Trout Otani. Everybody wanted to see that matchup.
Yeah, that's going to be nuts. Gosh, I can't imagine what that's got to be an electric
that was
atmosphere.
only a 98-mile-an-hour cutter, by the way. Do we have anyone at Fullerton who throws a 98-mile-an-hour cutter? That'd be pretty impressive if we do.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. That's nuts. That is crazy. All right, so let's get a little bit back to Titan baseball. So some of the good things that came out, we kind of already hit on it. The fact that it's the third series in a row. Still looking for that elusive sweep, but maybe that might come this weekend against UC Davis, and we'll get into the preview of UC Davis. Oh, double play.
Solid double play. 4-6.
Room service.
Maybe Trout could hit a solo bomb to go into the ninth.
Tie this thing up.
You got to love baseball.
All right, so we already hit on the third series in a row. Talked about Tyler Stoltz being the Big West pitcher of the week. Talking about the shutout on Friday. That's got to be a huge boost. Talked a little bit about some of the freshmen getting some more playing time. Eli Lopez and Draven Nishida getting some good at bats. And then I think we also hit on the fact that we had 0 errors. Titans had 0 errors on the weekend compared to UC Irvine 6. UC Irvine had 6 errors. And again, I don't know if we can chalk that up to the hometown scorer wanting to give some errors to the fielders and not blow up that ERA for their own pitchers. But and then we've also hit on the fact that Peyton Jones had 2 stellar weekends in a row in relief where he really came out and showed what he's made of. So I think that's kind of I think that's kind of speaks volumes for Peyton Jones, because unfortunately for Peyton, when the transition from the Vanderhook era to the Dietrich era, between that time after Vanderhook retired and before they hired Jason Dietrich, Peyton was in the transfer portal.
Oh wow!
Because he didn't know he didn't know who was coming in. He didn't, obviously the search committee and all that kind of stuff. They're not sharing all those thoughts with the players. But he was in the transfer portal, and he, obviously came back and super stoked that he came back, because just these past 2 weekends, it's been pretty impressive what he's been able to do.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think we've covered a lot of the stuff: the offense, the defense, the pitching, the series, and let's get on to UC Davis.
Well, as Mike's Trout swings through a 100-mile-an-hour heater right down the pipe, down to two strikes,
My
2-2.
TV's a little faster than yours, I think.
Oh, you might. All right.
Full count, 2 outs, just threw a slider in the dirt.
Oh, you can do the play-by-play because yours is your stream is a little bit faster than mine. So let's talk a little bit more about UC Davis coming up. So this is actually probably the first true road trip that the Titans are going to take, in the fact that I don't know if the Titans at Pepperdine and then definitely against Irvine, those are just straight up bus trips. I mean, Irvine is 30 minutes down the 57 to the 5
Strike
freeway.
3, Japan just won it. 3-2 slider, game over. Anyway, sorry about it. What's UC Davis's record and what they do last weekend against, and who do they play?
So UC Davis, swinging strike 3. There you go. Wow. All right. To answer your question, sorry if we're spoiling this for the listeners. So the Aggies last week, they played Cal State Northridge, and they dropped 2 of the 3. So they were 1-2 against Cal State Northridge, and overall they're 6-10 on the season.
Okay.
So
not bad. That's not horrible.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't get swept to open up Big West play, which is kind of a lot of people didn't expect UC Davis to do a whole lot. I don't know exactly where they were picked in the standings preseason, but I know they were kind of picked to be the bottom. So we'll see if things kind of even out here. One of the blemishes on their record right now is they did go out to Phoenix and they did get swept by Arizona State. So they did get swept out there. They did have some other series. They played Santa Clara, which got shortened to a doubleheader, much like the Michigan series did for Cal State Fullerton. So they split that one. They opened the season against Utah Valley, and that was actually a 4-game set for them. They split that one 2-2, and then they came against Seattle. They played Seattle, and they only had one win against Seattle. So they're scuffling a little bit. As a team, they rank last among Big West teams, batting .229 as a squad. And in addition to that poor batting average, they rank last in the Big West in hits with 121. They only have 1 triple. Their on-base percentage is a .325. And then they rank next to last in a number of statistical categories, including runs scored at 75. They've only got 72 RBI, total bases 194, and they've actually hit the hit by pitch. They haven't been plunked that many times. They've only gotten hit 17 times as a team. So, and then offensively, individually, they don't have a hitter that's batting above 300. The closest guy is a guy by the name of Damian Stone. He's batting .293 with 41 at-bats. And then we did mention the Alex Govea kind of at the top of the podcast, where he's batting .292 with 65 at-bats, but he's only struck out twice. So, he's probably their best stick in the lineup. And then also the big home run threat is a guy by the name of Jack Gallagher, who's hit 5 already in 44 of his at-bats. So offensively, not an offensive juggernaut. And like you said, hopefully that's going to be one of those things where, if talking about Saturday, if Trevor can really, really get his game going, especially against a lower level offense, if you want to call it that might be that confidence builder that they're looking for.
UC Davis sort of reminds me of the Pacifics in the Big West Conference when I played. I mean, you're going to go in there very, very confident. You're going to go in there just by walking on the field up 2-0. The way Fullerton loses is when they beat themselves, and that would be, not executing when you have guys on base or situational hitting and making errors. So if they could keep doing what they're doing defensively, I think they're going to be just fine because their offense, they're going to hit.
Well, and speaking of offensively or defensively, UC Davis, they actually rank number 1 in fielding percentage. So they've got a .979 fielding percentage, which leads the entire Big West. They've only committed 12 errors on the season. I know that only includes one Big West series against Northridge, but against ASU and the Seattles and Santa Claras and the Utah Valleys of the world, they've only committed 12 errors total. So, but their lack of errors, but they've allowed actually over 6.5 runs per game. That equates to a higher ERA. So I guess if the Titans are going to score runs, they're not going to be able to rely on somebody fumbling the ball out there in the field, but they're actually going to have to put a barrel on a ball and put it in play that way.
Right. They get Hawaii the following weekend. So they got a chance to get off to a pretty hot start here in conference play. So, and that's going to be a home series. I know I'm jumping way ahead of myself, but I'm looking forward to attending one of those games. That's why.
Yeah, 100%. That's actually going to be a back home. So if you count the Pepperdine road trip and the UC Irvine road trip, now Davis, that's 3 weekend series where they're not playing at Goodwin. And I know they opened up the season playing at home quite a bit. But, Davis is probably going to be the longest road trip that they're making all the way up there to the Sacramento area. But talking about some of the arms up there as well, they don't have the greatest pitching as well, unfortunately. So they do hold the highest ERA in the Big West as a squad. They're 6.32. They issue a lot of free passes. They've walked 81 batters so far. And that's the third highest in the Big West. And they're also plunking 23 batters. So look out, Brendan Bobo, who's been hit 7 times already this year. He got plunked. Yeah, he got plunked again against UC Irvine, I believe. And they're in a 3-way tie at first place for that category for Hawaii and UC Riverside. So actually next 2 weekends, look out for those pitches that are coming inside that might be able to give somebody a dose. But we also kind of hit on the Friday and the Saturday starter. Nate Freeman's expected to start on Friday. Brian Green is supposed to start on Saturday. And then the other one on Sunday is a gentleman by the name of Rowan Barnes. He ranks near the bottom of many pitching categories. He's got a 1-2 record. He's got a 14.73 ERA and a 2.86 WHIP. So he's a sophomore righty, and unfortunately, he might have a pretty short leash because his longest outing has come against Seattle, which was on March 5th. He went 3 1/3 innings. And that's his longest outing. Other outings, he's gone, 2 1/3. So he hasn't gone all that long. So if on Sunday, if he starts and if the Titans can jump on him pretty early, it might be a short day.
Right,
already.
and I'm sure their bullpen's not very strong either because it's not an easy place to recruit over there at UC Davis. I actually hung out with that pitching coach for UC Davis in Nashville, and he's a really good guy, and he's a close friend of Dietrich. So we spent some time together, and it's a tough task over there at Davis, but they do have a good pitching coach.
Yeah, and they did have they did a while back, not a while back. I want to say it was a few years ago. They kind of had that hazing incident where a number of guys had to be shown the door of the program, and I believe a number of the coaches up there had to resign. And didn't I forget exactly, but I think it was an assistant from Stanford came in and now has the head coaching job up there at Davis, if I'm not mistaken. I might be.
You may be right. I don't know. And I'm sure he hired a good staff, and I'm sure he's a young coach and who has a good background. So they sort of had to start from the bottom up again.
Right. All right. So that's a look at Davis. So hopefully that this is the weekend where that elusive sweep comes. I mean, on paper, and looking at their offense and then defense and the arms, it looks like this one could be a good spot to get that elusive sweep. But at the same time, games aren't played on paper, and you got to go up there and you got to perform. And I only have to point to this past weekend and the fact that if you looked on paper, UC Irvine was supposed to potentially sweep, if not take 2 of 3 from the Titans, and it ended up going the other way with a 2 out of 3 going the Titans' way. So these games aren't played on paper. So hopefully the Titans don't play down, and no disrespect, but hopefully they don't play down to their competition and let one slip away, because I definitely view this as every win in the Big West counts as equal as no matter who the opponent is. So 2 wins over UC Irvine is the same as if you got 2 wins over UC Davis or Hawaii or Riverside or, Cal Poly, or, you name everybody in the Big West. So if you can get 3 from a Big West opponent, that's just going to help you in the standings, because it doesn't matter who you get it from unless it comes down to tiebreakers. And no offense to Davis, but I don't think it's coming down to a tiebreaker.
I'll tell you what, if I'm in the end of the season and I'm tied with the team, let's say Santa Barbara for a Big West title, and I got to play Long Beach at the end of the year, and they get to play Davis, I'm liking the team's chances playing Davis. So let's take care of business here. Let's not let one slip. I predicted we'd win the series against Irvine. I am predicting a sweep at UC Davis, but they're going to have to win one game, either coming from behind or, late fashion, or it's going to be a close nail biter the whole entire way. But there's never 3 easy games on the road in the Big West Conference. So that's the way I predict it.
Well, Nostradamus, you predicted last week. Let's see if you can do it again this week.
Let's do it, my friend.
All right, man. Do you have anything else for us before we close this out?
No, I'm enjoying this a lot. It's a lot of fun, and I'm loving following these Titans, and I'm looking forward to meeting some of them again in the Hawaii weekend, because I'm planning on going to a game or 2 for them and bringing out some alumni guys.
Thanks for listening to the 1544 Miles to Omaha podcast. Feel free to visit our website, CalStateOmaha.com. While there, you can order an official Cal State Omaha t-shirt from the merch store. Want to help others find this podcast? Please add a 5-star review wherever you are listening. It really does help. The 1544 Miles to Omaha podcast is an On the Lam Enterprises production and is not affiliated with Cal State Fullerton or Titan Baseball.